What is up, everybody? So excited to share this with you. Today launches the very first episode of Becoming Ramirez podcast. Thank you to each and every one of you who has been with me through this journey of healing. And most importantly, for those of you who are with me right now as we launch this new part of my life, it has been a passion project of mine that I have been really wanting to pilot and take off and utilize to the community and just make it available for everybody. And you know what? I finally gained the courage to do it. I am both excited and nervous at the same time. And I'm just so grateful that you guys have tuned in. One of the things that I definitely realized I had to cover in the middle of this first episode is to get y'all to know who I am, especially for people who may have never ever heard of me. Hello, welcome. My name is Desirae Ramirez, and I am 25 years old. I definitely have a big heart and an even bigger mouth to talk a lot. I think this is going to be a fun time for all of us to grow and to document the journey for each and every one of us as we are progressing into the better versions of ourselves, as we are becoming the next phase of who we are intended to be, not only in Christ, but in our own personal perseverance. One of the backstories to this and why I'm launching my podcast here is to really encourage and create a safe place and a talking zone for men and women alike, all backgrounds, all ethnicities, all spiritualities, to come together and to empower one another, to really grow to the next level and to understand that in the process of becoming the best versions of ourselves, we must take ownership and grow and heal from any experiences that may have caused friction or a traumatic situation for us that's left us with PTSD, anxiety. I want this to be a safe talking zone for all of us to grow and to just share our stories willingly and vulnerably. So what's my story, right? What's my story? What's the whole premise of this Becoming Ramirez podcast? What's the whole, lineup here of what it means to become Ramirez? Why is that hashtag so prominent in my life? Well, my story is pretty long, but to make it short for everybody here, we'll just put it at this. It was a point in my life where I experienced something very traumatic, caused me to reevaluate my surroundings, my friendships, and create boundaries. At the time, I wasn't ready to do so, so I had to become this next 2.0 version of Desirae, and I wasn't ready to face that, so I kind of hid behind a lot of things until finally, when push came to shove, you realize that you don't really have it all together, no matter how much you try to wear the mask. On December 2016 was the day the ice cream started to melt. I usually refer to December 2016 as the cherry on top of an already melting ice cream cone. Even though it's cute, it adds no substance to the ice cream because it's already gone, it's already melted. And on December 2016, I was sexually assaulted against my will. Now, before this makes a very, dark turn, I just want to shed light on the journey that it has been for me. In 2016, after my assault, I immediately had to undergo a tremendous amount of healing. I had to take therapy, exposure therapy, go to support groups, as well as attend doctor's offices, and heavily look myself in the face and become very in tune with the woman that I was becoming. I had a choice to either play victim and be in that mindset of victimization, given the fact that I was assaulted against my will, and allow that to overcome me to the point that it becomes my identity, to allow that guilt of knowing I was sexually assaulted to then become the shaming part of owning it and saying, oh, because I was assaulted, I'm a damsel in distress and I'm a mess. I hit a point through this healing where I said, no, I don't want to succumb to that anymore. I don't want to be that girl who always falls under the I've been raped mentality. That's why I'm this way. I had an opportunity that was given to me gracefully to share my story with my church. And as frightened as I was and as scared as I was, I realized that confession, the moment it comes out my lips, I no longer have to feel indebted to it. I no longer have to feel owned by it. And once it comes out of my mouth and I share my story, possibly there's an opportunity for people to not only relate, but to grow the courage in their own confession to say, yes, this has happened to me, but no, it will not define me. I made the decision to stay heavily involved in therapy, go to court and face my attacker, prepare for my wedding, and take the next step in my faith and grow into a leadership position at my church. All of 2016 and 2017 has been documented through my hashtag Becoming Ramirez. Not only was it just a hashtag, it was also in the same line of the Me Too movement coming out, as well as the Time's Up movement coming out as well. In the earlier years before I grew a confidence and a courage, I struggled a lot with wondering, why me? Why did I have to get assaulted? What did I do so wrong that a man provoked himself unwantedly onto my body and hurt me? There was a lot of internal confusion and shame within that, feeling that perhaps I provoked him and made that come onto me. And in the reality, after gradual hours and several healing mechanisms, I realized that that is never, ever a reason for someone to come and assault you, whether invited or uninvited. If someone has bad intent, that is their intent, and there's nothing you can do to justify that, and it's not your place to justify it in your own head because it just causes you more pain. Instead, how can you move forward from this? My story taught me that in the middle of my most traumatic experience, that circumstances will shape your character. I realized after my assault, that was my circumstance. But what happened next was developing my character, finding myself, becoming in tune with myself, and developing self-awareness enough to also hit the stage of self-healing and self-discovery, which ultimately will platform into self-love and your manifesto. This Becoming Ramirez podcast has been on my heart, but it's going to be the early stages of documenting this story and using it as a highlight for people to own and accept their own. That is at least where I would hope that it would go, but in the same time, just for a place for community and connection and transparency and vulnerability. So yeah, what is my story? My story is I'm a young girl with a big heart and a huge smile who definitely holds herself accountable that vulnerability is my strength and is not my weakness. After I came out about my assault in December 2016, at the height of the Me Too movement, which coincidentally fell in line at the same time that I was going through my healing process, gave me the opportunity to stand up with millions of women all over the world from different backgrounds, celebrities at that, to not feel alone, to be like, you know what? They can stand up and say, me too. I can stand up and say, me too, and not hide behind my faith or hide behind my marriage, hide behind my friendships, or simply hide behind the screen. It gave me the opportunity to grow the courage to confess out of my mouth, me too. I was assaulted, and I choose not to be defined by it. All along this past year, I realized there was a moment where my vulnerability developed some type of, there was a moment where me voicing my vulnerability and being so transparent opened a door for others to not feel objectified or embarrassed or scared anymore. And I made my page public on Instagram, and all these DMs started pouring through from all over. And I was definitely humbled and taken by the fact of how many people opened up to me in their DMs. And this is where the manifesto, I would say, began. Waking up every day and seeing my DMs between 10 to 15 to 30, sometimes I think around 50 was the most that I ever saw waking up to, of all these people who I have never met before, or old friends from college and high school that are opening up to me saying, I was assaulted, me too, and I never knew that it was okay to take time to heal. I never knew that it was time for me to take back my freedom and take back my ownership, or how casual I was about saying, yes, I go to therapy and I get help for this. I didn't know that my vulnerability would open a stage for other people to stand alongside me and look out into the crowd and say, you know what, we are hurt, we are broken, but we are standing. I never viewed it as that. I was just being me. And next minute, I know all these DMs kept pouring in from people all over. I had folks DMing me about them wanting to commit suicide, about wanting to step out of their relationships, or, leave their partners, even some as strongly as going through a transition in their life where they want to come out to their family members and they're struggling with that, or wanting to come out to their church and they're having a hard time with that as well. And it began to kind of open my eyes that, wow, so many of us are craving vulnerability so bad, we're starving for it. And yet we feel we need to be silenced. And I understood that because I experienced it firsthand in the earlier months of my assault. I was so afraid, so afraid that me being vulnerable to the wrong audience or to the wrong friends or to the wrong environment would take advantage of me again. Maybe this time not physically like my assaulter, but, mentally they might take advantage of me. And that was a crutch that I carried until I began to heal from my journey, go and get therapy, go and deepen my faith, go and date myself was a big one. Dating myself all over again, getting to know why Desirae Ramirez is Desirae Ramirez. Who is she? What is her identity? What does she do? How does she pursue? How does she progress? How does she heal? That was a year of nonstop healing, and it's still growing. That's where this Becoming Ramirez podcast is truly going to be documenting this healing stage. Witnessing all of these people coming into my DMs and me developing the courage to say, do you want to chat? Do you want to unpack this? Do you want to share with me what you're going through, what you are going through? Do you want to be vulnerable with me? And the answer always was yes. I was so honored and so humbled that complete strangers wanted to unpack and share their journey with me. It blew me away. What am I going to do? I'm a 25-year-old girl living in the Inland Empire who's Latina. I'm not a therapist. I don't have a degree in therapy or counseling or anything like that. But what I offered through me being so vulnerable with my Becoming Ramirez story was a safe place. I offered a safe place through just listening. Just listening can do so much. And I just did that, and I ran with it. Next minute I knew, my followers started increasing, and people started paying more attention to my super long ass captions where I'm very therapeutic in my writing. Audio with this podcast is totally new for me. I'm much more comfortable writing and just having casual conversations, so I'm definitely trying to adjust to the fact that I'm talking into a mic with absolutely no one else in the room but myself. It sounds a little crazy, but I'm trying to see it as an outlet and an opportunity for others to just listen in on their drives, listen in when they're cooking, listen in when they want to get some good inspo and to pump themselves up, just to listen in and lean in. That's really what this is about. Listen in and lean in. At the end of the day, you make the choices you do. However you pursue and move next in your life is all on you. But sometimes that simple act of just listening in and leaning in can make all the difference. That's the manifesto of Becoming Ramirez. Leaning in, listening in, lending an ear giving a hug, letting people know that they are heard, that they are acknowledged, and that it's okay for them to heal. In whatever stage that they're going through, it's gradual healing, gradual healing. Circumstances shape your character. And through that, you will become the next best version of yourself. Whatever your last name is, smack it on there. Becoming Padilla, becoming Melendez, becoming Johnson. That is something that is forever ongoing. It does not end at just your wedding day when you transition to the last name. It does not end when you get a degree or pursue the next position in your job, whatever it may be. Becoming you is something that is always evolving, forever going. I don't take that lightly. I take that with a lot of grace because I know who I am today at 25 will transition when I'm 30, will transition when I'm 50, will transition when I'm 70, and any more years to come after that. Becoming Ramirez is me owning and growing just from the simple act of taking ownership and confessing through courage to say, I understand that my healing will take time. I'm self-aware enough to know that boundaries are needed. That is so important to create that environment for yourself and to love yourself through this journey, even through the hiccups. But where will this podcast go? What's the vision? What's the vision of becoming Ramirez? What's the goal, right? What's the end goal of this? To be completely honest, that's so far ahead of me. I don't want to get overly excited, and I definitely don't want to give myself anxiety because let's be real, a girl can get anxious when she tries to see her goals. So I'm just going to be graceful with myself. I'm going to be patient. Patience. If there's one thing I've learned through my healing journey of becoming Ramirez is to be patient and to trust the process. However this goes, it just goes. It flows. That's the most important thing, is to let it flow. I don't have an end goal here. I don't know if this will run for a year or run for a month. But what I do know, it's a passion project that I've been wanting to pursue. And I'm opening it up to the table of anybody else who wants to jump on board and share with me. Be vulnerable with me. Be willing to share your story and to be patient with your healing. So what will we discuss? Truly, we can discuss whatever you want. If we want to talk about what's going on in the world, or if we want to talk about, our pets and our faith and what we did for the day, we can do that. It's a talk show, guys. It's a radio. Why do you listen to the podcasts that you listen to? Why do you watch the TV shows that you watch? Why do you listen to the music you listen to? Because it makes you feel something. It helps you escape something. It gives you a sense of purpose and a sense of inspiration. So why not do a podcast, right? Why not discuss topics that will make you feel something? Some of the stuff that I have lined up is self-love, self-awareness, self-discovery, self-healing. All sounds pretty much like a byproduct of one another and very close in relation, right? Believe it or not, they're all individually unpacked, and we'll get into that as the episodes go on. Why a podcast? Why did I choose a podcast and not a YouTube? Why did I choose to speak into a microphone versus turning on a camera? Why did I choose to put on some earphones and hear my voice echoing back versus writing it into a book? Truly, this is the most economical project that I can launch myself that won't break the bank, honey. That's why. Let's just keep it 100. And it's passive consumption. It's not difficult. It's just very simple, very simple. Versus having to put on a YouTube channel and watch at the same time you're cooking or trying to feed your child or breastfeed your other child. It's a little difficult to do multiple things and stare at a TV show or a YouTube channel and stay engaged when your hands are being occupied. So why? That's why I'm deciding to do a podcast. Audio is so important. Audio gives you the advantage to speak and to share. Meanwhile, other people are going about their merry way, whether they're driving, whether they're cooking, whether they're nursing their child, whether they're building a fence in their front yard. Why else do you think music has been so successful? Because it gives you the opportunity to do multiple things in the midst of being inspired. So we're going to just do this podcast and see where it rolls. What is the motivation behind this podcast? Truly, to create a community, to create a safe place, a talking zone where all voices are heard, all voices matter, all stories matter, all becoming matters. All of that matters. I really wanted to give this podcast more depth than width. And truly, it's brand new, guys. This is my first episode. We don't know where it's going to go. We don't know how it's going to take off. But what we can at least attest to is that it matters. Because why not? Why wouldn't it matter? It matters. We have people that we encounter on a daily, left and right, people we cut off on the freeways, people we accidentally, bump carts with in the shopping aisles, people that we shake hands with when we're going to meetings. Every single walk of life has a story, and every single person is becoming a better version of themselves, right? That's in a perfect world, we'd like to think that we are all just born great, but that doesn't exist. We need to give light and give ownership and give a platform for people who are growing after they've hit the storms. People who are choosing to still step out their front door knowing that it's scary for them, knowing that they are dealing with PTSD from a traumatic experience, opening that platform for them to say, I can and I will and I declare. That's what this is about, guys. That's what Becoming Ramirez is. Becoming Ramirez podcast is an open table, open forum, open platform, open radio show, whatever we want to label it, right? Because at this point it's new. It's all wet cement. It's just an opportunity for people to share, not vent, not complain, not bitch or nag, and not boast, but to share the most intimate parts of their lives that has made them wake up and go, what the hell is going on and why is this happening? But how? How can I get the courage to be the best version of myself, to take myself from this person to that person, to move myself out of victim to warrior, to move myself out of, a drug addicted person to redeemed person? What is that middle mark? There's so much, how would I describe it? There's so much hype on the successor and never the story of how they got there. I mean, and if it is, it's very fine-tuned, right? It's like only for the people who are like huge speakers in the entrepreneurial world or huge speakers in the motivational scene. But what about those everyday people like you and I who are going through things, whether it's something small like your father or your mom walked out on you and left you abandoned as a child from when you were 6 or 7, and it's still scarring you today at 30 and 40. Or for someone who's 18 and just started college and their whole world has been flashed before them because it's no longer easy peasy like high school was. Getting a job, going into the real world, all of that stuff is scary. It's scary shit. Let's just be honest. It's scary shit. For anyone who is experiencing something where it's kind of shaking you and making you realize that the world isn't what you thought it was, well, congratulations, because that is the first step to self-awareness, is taking note and taking off the blinders and unveiling yourself to where you may see yourself as confused, shaken up, unaware. Owning that is self-awareness. Saying, I don't know what the fuck is going on, but I'm willing to learn. I'm self-aware enough to know that I talk a lot. Sometimes I ramble. Clearly, we can hear that now. But in the midst of all of that, I'm self-aware enough to know that those who want to engage will listen. Not everyone wants to hear my voice. Not everyone even wants to connect with me. 100. I totally respect that, and I'm not going to force that upon you. I'm self-aware enough to know that I just talk a lot. I talk a lot, but I do back it with action. That I give myself credit to. It didn't come easy. From 6 years old to 18 years old to possibly when I'm 40, I will continue to evolve and to grow. into Desirae 2.0, Desirae 4.0, whatever it may be. That right there, all of that in front of you is the stages of becoming and progressing and healing. Looking at something that was traumatic, looking at something that's scary, facing it dead on and saying, I choose not to be defined by you, but to be catapulted to the best version of myself because of this. Circumstances shape character, guys. I'll say that time and time again. Circumstances shape character. And if you have a passion project and you have something you've been wanting to do, just pursue it. Go out and do it. Be mindful that there are critics. Be mindful that there's going to be people that are haters that are going to weigh you down, that it may not launch, it may not go anywhere. It may take forever and a day to make some money, to monetize off of your projects, or to even develop the community or the open space. But please, please, please remember to document your journey. Document your journey. That's the number one thing that I can share with you guys to leave this podcast on episode 1. If you could take anything away from episode 1, take time in your healing, document your journey. Know that the stage that you're in right now will only get better. There will be humps, but it will get better. Progress, progress, progress. Give yourself credit, y'all. Give yourself credit. Document and storytell. Document your journey and storytell. Nobody wants to hear, I guess, let me just speak for myself. I, Desirae, don't want to hear a speaker who's making billions and billions of money and who's a millionaire and is talking about all the things they have and all the things they own. That don't do nothing for me because I can't even begin to relate to that person. I don't got that type of money, and I damn well don't like that type of car, and I don't like those type of jewelry and those brands. So why am I going to listen to a huge, giant, multi-millionaire entrepreneur, motivational speaker, consultant, business, tycoon, whatever, up on a stage talking about all of his wins? I want to hear him talk about his loses. I want to hear him talk about all his failures or her failures of this journey that they took. And I would love to have seen it all documented. That's the power of us living in this digital age, guys. That's the power of us living in 2018. We got Snapchat, we got YouTube, we got Twitter, we got Vero that just launched, we got Instagram, we got podcasts, and we got so much more, I'm sure of it. Document your journey. Storytell through your journey. It doesn't matter if you have to wake up every day and brush your teeth. Document that. I want to know you're human. I don't want to know you brush your teeth with a gold toothbrush. I want to see you brush it with that $1 toothbrush from the Dollar Tree too, because I can at least relate to that. I can watch that journey and say, oh, I feel them. I can relate. Document your journey. Episode 1, Becoming Ramirez podcast. Run through it real quick. Sum it up so y'all can go about your merry way. I am Desirae Ramirez, 25-year-old Latina from the Inland Empire, taking back and owning her vulnerability. This podcast will document the journey that it took for me to develop the courage to do just this right now, sharing my heart with all of you, sharing my biggest wins and my even biggest failures, openly, unafraid, and unapologetic. This podcast will highlight many things such as healing, love, acceptance, ownership, courage, and most importantly, opening a space for communities of all backgrounds, all lives that matter, and for people to platform and share their voice. Do not be afraid to share your voice. The outer vision, 10-year goal from this, just want to see a community of badass people. That's all. Badass people who are so well endowed in who they are and proud of their journey of becoming. That's the 10-year plan, right? The next 10-day plan, just to encourage you to be vulnerable, just to share. Don't be afraid. At the end of the day, we're going to lose it all, guys. When we die, Instagram don't go with us. When we die, those awards don't go with us. When we die, this podcast and equipment doesn't go with me. When we die, shoot, not even our clothes go with us. They rot, okay? So what is really the meat of all of this? What is the meat of everything you're putting out there? What's the value? Remember that. When you post something, when you share something, when you launch something, when you write something, what part of you, what part of your vulnerability are you putting into this? And how is it giving value to your viewers, your listeners, or even your haters? Are you empowering them or are you enabling them? Empower people, guys. That's the purpose. That's the purpose of the year and the decade we live in. We've been given so many platforms. Definitely take it. Have your cake and eat it too. So thank you. I don't know if you guys listened to all of it. I don't know if any of this made sense. But I do want to thank you for listening to episode 1. I hope you got a nice introduction into who my chatty ass is and where this will go. I look forward to speaking with you guys once again. Tune in next week for episode 2. If you like it, I guess you can share it on any of your streams, personal pages. If you want to follow me, feel free to do so. My Instagram is at Desirae Ramirez, DesiraeRamirez. You can follow me on Instagram at Desirae Ramirez. You can follow me on Twitter at Desirae Ramirez. You can like my Facebook page, Becoming Ramirez. You can even follow me on my own Facebook if you want at Desirae Ramirez. I love you guys. I appreciate you listening in. If you have any concerns, questions, or suggestions, or just want to be on the podcast and share your story with me, please DM me, send me a message, shoot me a text. I'd love, love, love to connect with you and meet with you and empower you. And together we'll rise up and we'll grow as friends, as partners, and as a community. Thank you guys. Have a great day. If you hear this podcast, comment on my latest picture by using the purple heart emoji. Love you guys. Bye.